Question is both for you, Mark, as well as the commissioner. Our hospital administrator was there as well when we had a chamber meeting here, and they were talking about the 5% increase for some funding for you, Mark, for the facilities. And I think you at that time talked about you'd like to see your even though we're talking technology today, we all know that healthcare is a lot of people that have to wash the clothes, do the bedpans, and the heavy lifting of giving patients to and from. Was there anything in the legislature relating to this 5% that a lot of myself and citizens heard about? So our healthcare workers that have to do the heavy lifting are finally getting caught up a little bit with inflation, or does the minimum wage provision of the last legislative session help them?
Well, there was the 5% funding for home and community-based services did get through the legislature. At the care centers, we had to ask for a 5% fee or rate reimbursement increase as well, which did not happen. I think that we need to see additional reimbursement in care centers, or at least get us back to providing it to the cost of what it takes us to care for somebody, so that our workers can get paid a much higher wage than they do today.
So, Mark, then you said the 5% did get approved?
Yes, it was for home and community-based services.
It wasn't a big picture deal then?
Well, no, it's a huge number. It went to the disability community. We get funding, additional funding here in our housing units through customized living. It just didn't apply to the nursing homes.
What about wages in general? Did it help those? Excuse me, Commissioner. Go ahead, both of you.
No, I was just saying, in the legislative session in 2013, there was a larger increase for nursing facilities, about 5% then, but only 1% for home and community-based services. And home and community-based services includes like assisted living and PCA services and the other things Mark discussed. So that's why I was really happy that this year the legislature and governor passed 5% for our home and community-based workers who do so much of the heavy lifting. And that actually goes into effect today. So it's another thing to celebrate being here. But I do think, as we were discussing earlier, we have big challenges in our long-term care workforce. We have an aging population, and we're going to have fewer people to serve them. So I think we need to look at ways to use technology smarter, but also what we need to do to really support our long-term care workforce. And so I think this was a good starting place, but it's a starting place.
So just to clarify then, as far as the workforce itself that does the heavy lifting that we talked about, did it relate to a 50-cent an hour increase, or just the normal cost of living, or whatever you've been doing with your contracts here, Mark?
Well, it's a small part of what for the housing side. It's a smaller part. We haven't put our plan together what exactly that number looks like, but there's a whole variety of payers in housing. For our housing side, it really amounts to about $10,000 of new funding. So we haven't we don't have that on a per employee basis as of yet what that would mean.
May I add one thing?
Surely.
I do think it's important that the legislation specify that the vast majority of these new dollars are to go to the direct care workers themselves. And that's something that, almost everyone supported, because we really want the individual workers to see these increases.
Another question just for you, Commissioner. Well, obviously our hospitals involved, probably the nursing homes. Myself, I'm on the MNsure policy now with incredible problems to try to get it hooked up, and others. And when I looked this morning, you're the only statutory person to serve on the board of directors of MNsure. And then I looked at the history of that, I think it was a May 2013 meeting, and all the difficulties, and obviously now you're getting people insured, and I'm happy for that. But I've served on a major national board and some regional boards and that type of thing. And when I look at the issues, why haven't you, especially with your busy schedule or some of the performance, why haven't we seen any shakeup in the board of MNsure? To me, as a person involved in those kind of things for a lifetime, I'm just baffled why we're not getting some shakeup, or the governor or the legislature isn't addressing the guidelines to get quality board members that understand the massiveness of MNsure. Your thoughts, please.
Well, the legislature did specify that the Commissioner of Human Services would be on the MNsure board, and I've certainly spent a lot of time trying to attend to that over the past year, and there's no question that MNsure got off to a rocky start. We all know that. But I think you also have to say, as a result of both MNsure plus the Medicaid expansion, our Minnesota Care program, we have now the lowest uninsured rate ever in our state's history. And I believe the second lowest uninsured rate in the country. So we have a lot more work to do with MNsure. There's no question about that. But I do think from a governance perspective, we've seen huge progress since last September. With so many tens of thousands of Minnesotans who have coverage now who didn't before. Should that have been easier for them to get that coverage in a less rocky way? Absolutely, and we got to continue working on that.
Will you recommend, or is any board members talking about taking an early leave to get additional individuals, male, females, Republicans, Democrats on there to help the program really do what you folks or the governor or the legislature wants it to do? Any thought that way?
Well, as for myself, as long as I'm commissioner, I will be on the board. And,
Okay.
and actually the legislation says the Commissioner of Human Services or his or her designee. And I feel that it's just so critical to get this right that I'm personally doing it instead of dedicating someone else. But I can only speak for myself.
Just one more quick question. I really thank everybody here for allowing Informed TV to come and photograph this. I'll put the whole deal up because I know my audience will love it. The other thing in your department, are you aware there's a $1.2 billion outstanding obligation under back child support under your department? And I'm actually involved in it personally. It's actually become a debtor's prison issue for low-income males, and I would encourage your department and you yourself to look into that. I mean, it's a monster. It's become debtor's prison for low-income males. It's not helping families anymore. These kids have grown up, and it needs to be investigated. I hope you can look into that, please. All right, maybe you have any thoughts on that, the back child support?
I'm
Huge.
happy to talk with our child support folks, and as far as you individually, to put you in touch with them.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Al, are you still here? You took off. Mark, you're the commander-in-chief here. Any closing thoughts for the Alexandria area residents after the meeting winds down now?
We're just very thankful to receive this grant, and the DHS has, and the legislature move forward to look at ways that we can innovate care delivery here in Alexandria and the region, and thankful to the commissioner to be here today and learn more about what we're doing at Community Nelson and in the region. So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So can I go see that pool?
Very